Bhavishya,
Yes, sir.
IIT and political philosophy.
Yes, sir.
Neither the twain shall meet. Is it right or wrong?
So definitely in tech.
You understood the question?
Yes, sir. In traditional terms, they are separate. Political science is deeply part of humanities, while IITs are famous for technical education. But increasingly, the boundaries between technical education and humanities is eroding.
How are these boundaries eroding? I'm very interested in knowing.
Yes, sir.
You appear to be a very thinking person, and I'm very interested in knowing.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm a humanities person.
Yes, sir. So the best example is the emerging technologies. Let's say artificial intelligence or cyber technology or cyberspace. They pose questions that are only answerable. They are political and social questions that only humanities can answer.
Can you just give it in some? How can artificial intelligence and political philosophy, can you be more precise and specific? Give the name of some political philosophy which has a connection with artificial intelligence.
Yes, sir. So for example, artificial intelligence can enable mass surveillance, and which would trample upon individual liberties and rights. For example, right to privacy or freedom of speech, and those are core political questions.
Okay, I get the correlation.
Yes,
okay, interesting. Bhavishya.
Yes, sir.
You are interested in markets and forecasting of markets.
So
markets, I thought you mean by Sensex and Nifty.
No, sir. So by markets, I mean prediction mechanisms. I'm not. For last 2 years, I've been focused on predicting global geopolitical events, not just economic markets. So not Sensex or stocks or shares.
Just suppose these days there is a talk.
Yes, sir.
That if the war continues and
yes,
if China maintains its stand vis-a-vis Russia,
yes, sir,
then even the Chinese would be boycotted.
Yes,
the economic sanctions will apply to China also.
Yes,
how do you think the markets will behave? The markets as you understand.
Yes, sir. So already Russia is highly integrated with the global economy, and in case of China, China is the major trading partner of most of the nations. So if China is sanctioned, or even a part of Chinese economy is sanctioned, then it would have ripples across the global economy. So global capital flows would be affected. Inflation could become worse. The macroeconomic stability would be affected.
Now, these are standard phrases.
Yes, sir.
Can you be more specific that if China sanctions apply to China,
yes,
what exactly specific areas? Let's give one or two specific areas.
So China is the biggest manufacturer. So for example, electronic goods, the cheap consumer goods, those would be affected. So for example, American supply chain is dependent on Chinese.
So it will be counterproductive to have economic sanctions on
yes,
China. Okay, that's all. E-commerce and brick and mortar.
Yes, sir.
There is a lot of conflict between the two.
Yes, sir.
What is your opinion on this? Is it possible to integrate the two, or ultimately it's the e-commerce which will prevail?
So a few years ago, it seemed that the e-commerce giants like Amazon, Walmart, or Flipkart, etc., would prevail. But now it is possible with the new technologies. So for every brick and mortar shop can have their own apps. So for example, Facebook provides this marketplace. WhatsApp is providing this marketplace. So now the brick and mortar shop can use those apps, and they can.
Is Amazon providing the marketplace?
So I'm not sure that Amazon is providing a marketplace.
Amazon has been priding itself by saying that it sponsors the small scale industries.
Yes, sir.
Promotes the small scale industries.
So they might they might sponsor small scale shops or industries, but their core business is in e-commerce, which is
but through e-commerce.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Free e-commerce, they are providing a platform for that's what they say.
Yes, sir. But sir, increasingly it gets centralized. So Amazon has more, there's market imbalance. So Amazon has more powers with vis-a-vis small shop owners. So they can, Amazon can pressurize these shop owners and they can decide the market price. So
what is this conflict which was there between the Zomato and restaurants, on which the matter has gone before the Competition Commission of India? Swiggy and then Zomato both.
So I'm not aware of the exact conflict, but
what can it be?
Yeah,
With your thinking
yes,
mind, what can the conflict be?
yes. So
There should not be no conflict. They are improving the market for the restaurants.
Yes, sir. So I think Zomato and Swiggy and other food service providers, they do not the share of profit that the restaurants earn is not so the restaurants are not rightly compensated by these platforms.
Deep discounts.
Yes, sir.
Passed on to the
Yes,
restaurants.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Bhavishya.
Yes.
Bhavishya, your CV sort of thing is very interesting here, right? You are a first-class graduate from IIT Kanpur in computer science.
Yes, sir.
And you have been a research fellow at National University of Singapore, one
Yes,
of
sir.
the best universities in the Southeast Asia. You have prepared a paper on artificial intelligence. You're already working in a firm at 1,25,000 rupees.
So I was an intern during my senior year at
So
college.
this, as an intern, you were getting this.
Yes, sir.
But if you continue in this stream and you continue to work with them, I think in artificial intelligence, guys are earning up to 1 crore a year now, right?
Yes.
Why would you like to make a switch to the civil services?
Yes, sir. So during my final year, I realized that in a corporate or a private sector job, the same sense of meaning and purpose was not available, and I increasingly got interested in international relations and political philosophy. I took some electives at my university, and so that's why I decided that I should switch to civil services, and that would be more fulfilling and sustainable in longer term.
Okay. Because you have filled up Indian Foreign Service as
Yes.
your first
Yes.
choice, so I would ask you a few questions on international relations itself.
Yes, sir.
A new thing is emerging. Since the last about 2-3 years, India has been, following up in a big way with the Quad.
Yes, sir.
But now, what has happened in Ukraine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and China is supporting Russia, and India is also, not actually supporting but not participating against Russia. So, what do you think is going to emerge out of this in the next 3 to 6 months? What is the fate of Quad? What is the fate of Quad versus India versus vis-a-vis Quad in China, etc.? Where do we see in another 6 months?
Yes, sir. So first, so Quad, so the crisis in Europe should not impact Quad because it has further solidified the belief that China could take this opportunity to take action against Taiwan. So the logic of Quad is strong. And in vis-a-vis India, so India has maintained that it has strategic autonomy. Quad is not an alliance; it's a strategic partnership. So and Quad has a positive agenda beside the security and freedom and openness in Indo-Pacific. The positive agenda of Quad is the maritime, humanitarian assistance, vaccination, etc. So the Quad is sound for next 6 to and for in the future. While the security architecture in Europe would change because earlier the Europeans were not so clear with respect to their military spending, etc. And now the Russian invasion will reshape the security order in Europe. So Europeans will spend more on their military. They will become more self-reliant, and this would also allow USA to focus its energies in the Indo-Pacific and Quad.
Okay. Europe is dependent on Russia in a big way
Yes, sir.
for its energy requirements.
Yes, sir.
now the summers have set in, maybe that requirement is not that high, but coming winters again.
Yes.
So do you think that the Russian petroleum or the Russian stance of now, trading in rubles for this petroleum and not in petrodollars is going to impact the economy of Europe or the strategic interests of Europe?
Yes, sir. So many European countries, like major ones like Germany, have more than 50% of their oil and gas requirements from Russia. So it would be really difficult for them to transition. They are trying their best to transition to other sources and other sources of energy and other providers, but it would at least take a few years. So this would impact. This would be seen in rising inflation across Europe, even across the globe. Further, the commodity markets would also be affected, so they will also contribute to inflation. So yes.
So some of the Eastern European countries have already said that they would rather continue to trade with Russia, like Hungary and all. So do you think the Western Europe countries will also fall into line, or they will continue to follow US and say our strategic interests in NATO are more important?
Yes, sir. So within Europe, there's a divide. So, for example, Hungary is because of their domestic politics is slightly antagonistic to the whole EU. So, Western European countries will continue with their strong sanction and their strong stand against Russia. But Hungary is, because of their domestic political reasons, it's more favorable to Russia. And Mr. Orban has been elected again in Hungary, so that would again.
Okay, let's come nearer to our country.
Yes, sir.
What has happened in Pakistan and what is happening in Sri Lanka.
Yes, sir.
Where do you think these countries are going, and how does it impact India? And furthermore question, how is it going to impact the relationships with China, who has been investing heavily in Sri Lanka as well in Pakistan?
So first, in case of Sri Lanka, though the economic crisis is really bad, so they are suffering from inflation, high debt, etc. But so Sri Lankan economy has strong fundamentals. They have strong human capital. Their tourism industry can come back. They have strong GDP per capita. So now India is trying to help them. It's trying to provide them economic advice as well as the line of credit. So it's possible that Sri Lanka would recover. While in case of Pakistan, there the problem is more complex. They have a political and an economic crisis, and the democratic control in Pakistan is not. It's in near term it's not possible. So military still is calling the shots. So while they have a strong economic crisis for 4 years, their GDP has been declining. Inflation is rising. They have a debt problem. So in case of Pakistan, and since military is back in power, so they'll try to maintain their relationship with China, while at the same time balance their relationship with USA and West. So, but it does not seem likely that they would recover economically soon.
My second question was, how does it impact India and
yes,
the China-Pakistan and China-Sri Lanka relations also?
Yes. So India is seeing this as an opportunity to bolster its relationship with Sri Lanka. So now India, the domestic population in Sri Lanka is also realizing that India is a true friend, true partner, and while China is more transactional. And in case of Pakistan, because the army is back in power, so now India can try to develop this geo-economic logic that the General Bajwa was talking about. So we can try to build that relationship, but we need to be cautious. We need to be realistic. We need to trust but verify. And if the economic logic is sound, then we can build the other parts of the relationship.
And my third part was about China and the relationship with these two, because if their system has failed in Sri Lanka, so it is going to fail in many African countries also. So it will be an advantage for many other countries.
So the viability of BRI is strongly challenged across the globe. The debt diplomacy of China.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Thank you, sir. I read a common saying that when China sneezes, the world catches a cold. So
yes, sir.
Tell me two things in support of this and two things against this.
First, as we are seeing, if China suffers from, let's say, the current COVID shock they are facing in Shanghai, and it would impact the whole world because China is the hardware capital of the world, the manufacturing capital of the world. Second, China is a strong civilizational state. It has so many neighbors. So if something goes wrong in China, it would impact all its neighbors. It's also a nuclear power. So, and in terms of in negative terms, so China still is a regional power. It's not a global hegemon like USA. Its army is still not completely modernized. So the idea of Chinese hegemony is slightly overhyped. Second, so China has a huge cultural barrier. So the West has a large cultural influence because of English language, while the China is a closed society, so it has limited cultural influence.
Any other point other than this?
So other than this, so the Chinese diplomacy has also not been very good. They've been antagonizing their neighbors through this wolf warrior diplomacy, and for example in Himalayas or in South China Sea.
Okay. You must have heard the word OPEC.
Yes, sir.
There is a new word which is coming, OPEC plus.
Yes.
What is OPEC plus?
So OPEC plus is the OPEC plus other oil producers like Russia or even some of the African countries.
So when Russia being a part of OPEC plus,
yes,
and the Western countries are going against Russia,
yes, sir,
do you think that the relevance of OPEC and OPEC plus will further decrease?
So it's difficult to tell because the OPEC countries, mainly Saudi Arabia and UAE, have taken a neutral or even pro-Russian stand on the current war. So they are trying to establish a ruble mechanism for oil trade. So it does not seem like that OPEC Plus's relevance would fall.
Okay, that's it.
Bhavishya,
Yes.
there is a view that we have entered a post-truth era.
Yes.
Do you agree with that view?
Yes, sir. It does because of the rise of conspiracy theories, fake news, and social media has become the main mode of communication. It does seem like we have entered a post-truth era.
So what is the corrective measure that you would suggest?
So there are several correctives. In terms of institutional terms, we need to regulate the social media channels. They need better authentication, verification. And in terms of personal, every individual, they need to increase their awareness, trust only the trusted news sources, and be more skeptical of the claims that are made.
Fair point. You mentioned that you are indulging into US and China watching.
Yes, sir.
How can you watch China when the state media is the media itself is so state regulated?
Yes, sir. So it is difficult to watch China because of its close nature. But there are, even within the state media, for like the People's Daily or the Xinhua news agency, there are signs that could be deciphered if we watch close enough. And further, there are various China experts, and by following their viewpoints, you can get a better understanding of China. But definitely, it's harder than USA.
Okay, fair enough. You have done computer science. Can you tell me what was the contribution of Alan Turing?
Yes, sir. So Alan Turing was also known as the father of computer science because of he had wide-ranging contribution, particularly in terms of AI. The famous Turing test is in his name. He also was the first person to create a modern computer, and he also had.
What did he call it?
So,
Automata.
So the automaton is the logic that the computer is based upon.
Okay.
And apart from that, he also contributed in cryptography. And
any contribution with respect to Second World War?
Yes, sir. So he was crucial in the Allied code breaking effort against the Nazis.
But what fate did he meet?
Yes, sir. So he was homosexual, and during that period in 1950s, it was illegal to be a homosexual, and he suffered due to the adverse effect of medication. He committed suicide.
Fair enough. Are you aware what is NP complete problem?
Yes, sir.
What are those?
So NP complete problems are problems that are difficult to solve but easier to verify. So for example, if I have so they are different from the polynomial type problems. All major problems that we solve are polynomial type problems, but NP-complete problems are not solvable.
In infinite time.
Yes.
But with emergence of quantum computing, the NP-complete problems will not be NP-complete anymore.
So I'm not sure, because quantum computing can break problems that are part of NP-like factoring, but it's still not sure that the quantum computers can break NP-complete problems.
Okay, so what is the impact of quantum computing on cryptography?
Yes, so quantum computing would allow to break the current cryptographic protocols that are based on factoring problem. So in particular, the Shor algorithm can break the current cryptographic protocols. But in response to that, we have new types of cryptography that is based on SHA-256, the technical term, which is not breakable by quantum computing.
Why?
So because quantum computer, there is still no quantum algorithm that can break NP-complete problems.
What is the number of bits used in SHA-2 algorithm?
So 256.
256, correct. My last question to you is about your preference with respect to cadre.
Yes.
In police service, you have not chosen Rajasthan as your home cadre, as your first preference.
Yes, sir.
Why?
So because of the commissionerate system, I preferred the union territories.
I didn't get it. Can you
So
come again?
In the emirate cadre, there's the commissionerate system, so that's why I decided to choose them as the first preference and Rajasthan as second preference.
But are you aware that if you don't choose your home state as a first preference, you are not going to get it?
Yes, sir.
So you chose Egmont cadre as your first preference only because it had a commissionerate system.
Yes, sir.
But Rajasthan also has a commissionerate system.
So
Jaipur is a commissionerate.
Yes, sir. So I preferred Delhi if I get an IPS service. That's it.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Bhavishya,
Yes, sir.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, Bhavishya, you had mentioned your research paper in field of artificial intelligence.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the ethical concerns with artificial intelligence?
Ma'am, there are several ethical concerns with AI. So, for example, in pragmatic terms, the arrival of self-driving car or the voice assistant poses several ethical dilemmas. The moral culpability, the issue of privacy, issue of security. And in long term, if there's an artificial general intelligence, then it would challenge what is basic nature of humanity.
So we shouldn't go for artificial intelligence then?
Ma'am, we should go for artificial intelligence, but we should regulate AI so that it serves humanity and not vice versa.
All right. So in case India wants to become a number one, power in case of artificial intelligence,
Yes, ma'am.
globally,
Yes, ma'am.
what should it do?
Ma'am, there are several steps that India needs to do. First, as the Niti strategy on AI says, we need to develop AI tools that have direct application. So India is a developing country, so AI can be a force multiplier across health, education, agriculture, etc.
Anything else?
We need to invest in our local startups that can be then can provide the innovation. We need to invest in our research institutions. We need to create industry academia linkages like the Silicon Valley Stanford linkage in USA. We also need to collaborate at a global level so that we could attract talent, capital, research.
All right. Okay. Very recently, India also abstained in the recent UN resolution, and Russia was disappointed with India's approach. Do you think India is changing its stance vis-a-vis its earlier abstentions in the past, and vis-a-vis Russia also?
Ma'am, so India is being consistent in its policy of strategic autonomy. We are taking decision while balancing the moral imperative of sovereignty and territorial integrity, while also protecting our interest, our national interest of defense and energy. So I think India is being consistent in its.
So what did India say while it was abstaining? There was a statement.
Yes, ma'am. In the UN, our statement said that we respect the territorial integrity, political independence, and sovereignty of Ukraine, while at the same time we are abstaining because we think a political or diplomatic solution is possible when India is more neutral.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Bhavishya.
Yes, sir.
We'll call you after 2 minutes.
Yes,
Huh?
sir.
Just wait outside. Your Bhavishya looks very bright. And
Thank you, sir.
no, we found you very well prepared on international relations and all questions connected with the foreign service. And you had a mind of your own and you had a view of your own. It's what counts is that you have a mind and you are able to convey it,
Yes.
and which you are able to do very well. But what we felt was that the moment we took you outside the zone of comfort of international diplomacy and international relations, there we found you not that Bhavishya of IIT Kanpur.
Okay.
Yes, you can, I mean, you did well, but not of that standard. You know.
Okay.
For example, Swiggy, Amazon, you wouldn't answer about Amazon. I was about to ask you about Cloudtail, but then I resisted myself and I said, okay, let me stop here. Because you should have come out
Yes.
on your own with regard to Cloudtail, issues connected with Amazon, because you belong to that category of
Yes.
people who are expected to know these issues.
Yes, sir.
There is a category of people who is not expected. So we will not expect it from them.
Yes,
But
sir.
from you, our expectations are much higher.
Yes, sir.
And to a large extent, you met them.
Yes.
And, but be prepared, like he asked for, he will speak on the commissionerate system. Be prepared because they would have placed you as a person who's very keen on foreign service, and perhaps the moment he doesn't get it, they will start with testing you
Yes, sir.
as to whether you will be able to adjust in the other service.
Yes, sir.
And then they will ask you questions connected with that.
Yes, sir.
Hmm?
Yes, sir.
Income tax, revenue, audit and accounts.
Yes, sir.
They will ask, one of them will start asking questions.
Yes, sir.
And there you will have to show your, you have to show that you are not disinclined towards the other side.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you are not positively inclined, but you are not disinclined.
Yes, sir.
So all the best, Bhavish.